Kerry Packer. I appear here this afternoon reluctantly. I personally think that you have to be aware of the fact that in the world today there is an enormous shortage of capital. Wherever you go, the thing which is in shortest supply is capital. In America, you've got banks with terrible problems, you've got financial institutions with problems, you've got insurance companies with problems, you've got savings and loans with problems. There is no money out there for companies which are good companies, which have had good relationships with their banks over long periods of time, and they still can't get money. You've got Japan on the other side saying we are contracting, the banks are downgrading, downsizing, we're taking money back into ourselves. All of those things are going on, and the whole world is now competing for capital. I mean, the whole world is competing for it. And I think we have to be aware of that as a nation, and we have to start doing something which encourages capital to be brought into this country. Now, you people know better than I do what you want to do about that. But I think any encouragement, forgetting this transaction, which you can give to people to invest money in Australia, you should look at very seriously. The whole world is trying to encourage money in. We are still sitting there saying, we don't know whether we want it. And I don't think we're that rich anymore.
Ahead of anybody else in the nomination of directors.
Here, which we are discussing. You as a parliament have passed a law and said, this is what I may do. I have been to the lawyers, I've got a statement there for you to read, and I will do everything within the law that I'm allowed to do, not one thing more, and I will behave with a complete compliance to the law. I have every right as an Australian citizen to go and buy John Fairfax and Sons. Now, there is nothing that any of you can do about that. I have decided I want to remain in television, and I accept, and I have accepted from day one that you cannot control television and newspapers. And I have accepted that. And I have made my decision. My decision was to stay in television. And I do not have any agreements with anyone that contravenes the law. I am being stopped because I accept that that is the rule of law in this country. And I accept that law. And I can't say it enough times. You've got very clear guidelines. Very clear guidelines, and this is one of the things which I think has really been enormously hurtful to this whole process. You have guidelines, and you have changed them, you've twisted them around in response to pressure from journalists. Now, you know, there are people out there who want to invest in this country, and they want to invest in it because they think it's a stable, decent country. The performance we have seen and the attempted hijackings in this company, in this performance, have taken people who I know over there who are saying, why would anyone invest in Australia? The laws get twisted and changed. The whole structure gets moved round, depending on whether they like the colour of your eyes or not. Now, if we were a little bit more worried about jobs out there and getting people to invest money into this country and getting some businesses going, instead of trying to stop people. Hillman Friedman represent a group of people in America who are committed to Pacific Rim investment. And the clients that they have are worth some hundreds of billions of dollars. And they are sitting here saying, nobody could carry on like these people. It's not possible. Now that's the damage you're doing, changing the rules every single day. And I think the people out there whose jobs have been pissed up against the wall don't thank you for it. Look, you made the rules in 1986. I didn't try to sneak around the back door or sneak underneath this. These rules were made in 1986. I read the rules, said, what am I allowed to do? And that's exactly what we've done. Now, why do you want to change the rules again? This is the first, what's happened with this operation going on now is exactly what those rules were put in place for. It's the first time it's been used. It's exactly what they were put in place for. And we have obeyed them absolutely. Why do you want to change the rules again? I mean, since I grew up as a boy, I would imagine that through the parliaments of Australia, from the time I was 18, 19 years of age to now, there must be 10,000 new laws being passed. And I don't really think it's that much better place. And I'd like to make a suggestion to you, which I think would be far more useful. If you want to pass a new law, why don't you only do it when you've repealed an old one? I mean, this idea of just passing legislation, every time someone blinks is a nonsense. Nobody knows it, nobody understands it. You've got to be a lawyer. They've got books up to here, purely and simply to do the things we used to do. And every time you pass a law, you take somebody's privileges away from them. Can I just say one thing? I'm not asking you to accept. I'm saying to you, you must be prepared to prove otherwise. I am telling you unequivocally what my situation is. Now, if you want to take me to court, which is where we'll end up, you'd better be able to prove that what I'm telling you is untrue. And you can't prove that because it's not untrue. If you're an owner, you have a responsibility to make sure that the publication is responsible and does certain things. You don't have the right to go and get a hold of a reporter here and say, change that story where the crowd was 20,000, make it 2,000, do this, that. And that. Columnists write their own view. And columnists, I look on an owner rather like a columnist. If an owner wants to send a letter to a newspaper, I think he's entitled to be published. I think his view is entitled to be heard. In an editorial, whatever you like. I don't subscribe for one moment to people changing actual facts to suit their own situation. So I believe proprietors have the right and the responsibility to see that their newspapers are good and accurate and try to be fair and balanced. That's my belief. Listen, I'm not going to sit here and go through my tax arrangements with you or anybody else. I am advised by the most eminent tax firm in this country, an accounting firm in this country. They do all my tax. They pay whatever tax I'm due to pay under the law, not a penny more, not a penny less. What your, Four Corners story is trying to suggest is that I'm evading tax. I am not evading tax.
No, it wasn't trying to.
What the Four Corners story was trying to say, which you quoted, was that I was evading tax. I have not been evading tax, and I am not evading tax. I pay what I am required to pay. Now, what people don't understand is that there are businesses outside of Australia which have never been historically taxed in Australia. They are nothing to do with Australia. They are businesses that I own in other countries, in the United States of America. Why Australia believes it's entitled to tax that company is beyond my comprehension, but they do. But that has only started from this year.
What the Four Corners program suggested was not that you were evading tax at all, that would have been libellous, but that you were minimising tax.
There's nothing wrong with minimising tax. I don't know anybody who doesn't minimise their tax. I am not evading tax in any way, shape or form. Now, of course I am minimising my tax, and if anybody in this country doesn't minimise their tax, they want their heads read. Because as a government, I can tell you, you're not spending it that well that we should be donating extra. I've already given you the answer on this subject. I've told you that I pay whatever tax I'm required to pay under the law, not a penny more, not a penny less. And the suggestion that I'm trying to evade tax, which is what you're putting forward, I find highly offensive, and I don't intend to cooperate with you in the blackening of my character. Now, you ask whatever questions you like, but my memory's gone.